Today we are tying the Renegade. The Renegade is probably the first fly I ever fly fish with, and it's definitely the first fly that I caught a trout on. And it's just one of the most awesome attractor, stimulator, dry flies that you can fish. So we're tying this on a size 14 dry fly hook. And I'm going to be using a red uni thread. And one of the reasons I'm using this color thread is because when I finish the head, it gives a nice little red hot spot. So we're going to start our wraps right behind the eye and work our way all the way back into the bend of the hook. So one of the reasons we go this far into the bend of the hook is because we're going to tie in a gold tinsel butt on this fly. It's not completely necessary. You could forego the butt if you want. You could also use different materials. I tie in butts in pink thread or chartreuse as well. But traditionally, the Renegade had a gold tinsel butt tied in. So we want to tie that thread down into the bend because we need to give some thread for that gold tinsel to stick onto so it doesn't slide around. I'm also going to use some head cement here just to help that tinsel stick when I start wrapping it. Otherwise, it'll tend to slide down the butt of that hook, especially if there's any pressure or if a fish nicks it. This just helps add some durability to it. And I'm going to wrap this tinsel up to where it's about in line with the front of the barb, almost to the hook point. And we'll go ahead and tie it off and clip off the excess. Now we're going to take a piece of ginger rooster dry fly hackle. You can tie it in brown if you want as well. And I've stripped off the bottom fibers, probably those 4 or 5 bottom fibers. And we're going to tie this with the dull side facing out. That way these hackle fibers splay forward when we start to wrap them. And we can usually get about 4 to 5 wraps at the rear end of this hook shank. And we'll tie off the tip of the feather and clip off that excess. Next, we're going to be tying in our body, and the body on the Renegade is going to be made out of Peacock Herl. So I just took a single strand and I'm going to break it in half and lay the halves over each other to double it up and give a little more volume to this body. Get the tips aligned there. And once I tie them in, I'm going to work the thread back towards the hackle. That way when I start to wrap the Peacock Herl, I don't have a whole lot of exposed red thread in front of that hackle. And we'll wrap up to about a hook eye's width away from the eye of the hook. Maybe 2. Give yourself a little more room on this. Never hurts. And once that herl's secured, we're going to go ahead and tie in our front portion of the hackle. So one of the things that makes this fly awesome is it's sort of bivisible. So I'm using Grizzly hackle here. Traditionally, you could use cream or white hackle. I use Grizzly hackle for almost anything that I need to have lightly colored. So I think it looks really good on this Renegade as well. And that contrast of the brown and Grizzly Hackle up front makes this fly really easy to see on the water. And again, with the front hackle, we can usually make 4 to 5 wraps before we tie it off. Clip off our excess. And I'm going to whip finish first, and then I'll be able to trim out any air and fibers that I need to. Just kind of clean up the head of the fly. So the history of this fly is a little bit ambiguous. I've heard of different people who claim to have first tied it. According to Ernest Hemingway, it was tied by a guy named Taylor Williams out of Idaho sometime in the 1920s or 1930s. But Ernest Hemingway was a big fan of this fly, fishing it in Montana. I started fishing this fly in the Ozarks, so if you ever fish anywhere down in the Ozarks of Missouri or Arkansas, chances are you're going to see this fly pretty popular in the fly shops down there. And it's awesome because you can fish it dry, you can fish it wet, you can skip it, strip it underwater, swing it, and it just produces. So let's see how it fishes. All right, beautiful little wild brown, got good spots on the Renegade right there. And there you go, buddy. He's off. There it is. Another healthy little Creek brown. Took the Renegade. Little guy came right up for it. There it is. Little guy. Oh, and he's off. On to the next hole. These are my footprints from like a month ago, maybe. 3 weeks ago. They hardened up real nice. Normally I wouldn't fish upstream from these guys, but I don't really have any way to get behind them, so here we are. Alright, we caught him stripping that Renegade. Yep,
stripped it a couple times under the water, and he took it pretty quickly. There you go, buddy. And he's good. There he goes. All right. Again, on the Renegade, took that right underneath the log. Yeah, bud. And he's good. All right, right under this tree and up to the back of that rock. That's where we're going. Accurate casts are the name of the game here. Oh man. Now there's quite a few fish holding under this overhanging bush, but it's real tight spaces. I got a bush over here to my right, got a bush to my left, surrounded by bush. One. With any luck, I pulled them out of there fast enough. I don't think I spooked the others, so I'll get this guy off and have a go at the others. There's about 3 in there. There we go. There it is. All right. Nice little brownie. He did not hesitate for 1 second.